Apple's next event has been confirmed, but it's kind of strange. iOS 26.4 Beta 1 released this week with some major changes. How iOS 27 might solve one of the iPhone's biggest issues. Apple's AI smart glasses and 2 other AI devices are making big progress, and more, all in this week's episode of Apple Weekly. Okay, so let's first start by talking about the first Apple event of the year, which is coming up on March 4th, except for the fact that this is not actually an Apple event. It's an Apple special experience, which is just simply a hands-on experience for those of the media. It's an invite-only, event, a little get-together for media. And the thing is, this would have never been publicized if it were not for the media posting this on social media. So, a lot of people have been saying this is an event, but it's not actually an event. And keep in mind, in January, Apple did host another Apple special experience, which is where, creators and those of the media got to go hands-on with the Apple Creator Studio, which was actually announced before that actual hands-on experience. And I bring that up for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that it proves that Apple does not only host these special experiences for big product launches, they also did it for Creator Studio, which was a much smaller, deal. So it proves that, and it also proves, number 2, that the products might not actually get announced on that specific day. They may actually come beforehand. But before we get into that, let's first talk about what we can actually expect in this first week of March, because we've had a lot of rumors. There are a lot of products that are expected to get released very soon. We've heard the word imminent so many times about so many new products coming, but I don't think we're going to get all of them at this special experience and via press release, which, by the way, I do not think that we're going to see anything other than a press release and maybe some videos from Apple, outlining these new products. So the products that we are expecting to see are going to be the iPhone 17e, the cheap new entry-level MacBook. We're going to see potentially some new iPads, so the iPad and the iPad Air, and then also potentially the new M5 Pro and M5 Max MacBook Pros. And we also got some new details on the new entry-level MacBook this week as well from Mark Gurman, who said it could come in a variety of colors like yellow, green, blue, and pink, which if you look at the invite or the email that these creators and media got, it kind of lines up with the graphic that you see here. So Gurman also said this in a recent report. Over the past year, Apple has tested options such as light yellow, light green, blue, pink, classic silver, and dark gray, though it's unlikely that all of these will ship. It'll also have an under 13-inch display, but it won't be made of plastic. It'll be made of aluminum. So aside from this cheap entry-level MacBook, every other update is going to be relatively minor. The iPhone 17e could be a little bit exciting, but it's such a niche product, and also all the other products are just going to be simple spec bumps. We're not expecting anything major, which is exactly why I think Apple is not hosting an actual event for this, is because all these products are relatively boring. There's really not a ton to talk about aside from the chipset inside. Even the new MacBook, yes, it's cool that we're getting a cheap MacBook with an iPhone, processor inside, but that's not necessarily groundbreaking. It's not enough, I think, to have a full event for, which is why Apple is just inviting the media out to go hands-on with this, and they're just going to release everything and announce everything via press release and maybe some videos on YouTube. Now, just because Apple is inviting the media on March 4th does not mean that all these products are going to be announced on March 4th. If I had to guess, I would say that Apple's actually going to announce these products before March 4th, and March 4th is going to be the day that the media goes hands-on in these 3 select cities around the world. So we'll have to wait and see. They could do a press release Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we could see the hands-on, of course, with all the creators on that Wednesday, and then of course the products might release on Friday or maybe even the next week. Now, we all know that 2026 is going to be a massive year for the Mac. We have the redesigned OLED MacBook Pro coming later this year. We still have the M5 Pro and M5 Max MacBook Pros to come out. We still have the new cheap entry-level MacBook coming out. We have the new MacBook Air. A lot of stuff going on with the Macs this year. However, looking a little bit further ahead to future MacBooks, these might be even more exciting because we're hearing that they might be able to hide your screen from strangers. You guys know that the upcoming Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra is going to have a cool feature where when you turn it to the side or when somebody is looking at the phone from the side, they will not be able to see certain elements of the screen. It actually blacks it out. Meanwhile, you sitting in front of the phone can see everything perfectly normal. It's kind of like a protective screen protector, like a, one that hides your screen from others, except for it doesn't impact you when you're directly on it, and it doesn't cover the entire screen. It's a cool new feature, but we're hearing that Apple's set to bring a built-in privacy screen technology to future MacBooks within the next 3 years. And this is all according to a report that was released by market research firm Omdia. So they're saying that we might have this privacy screen built into the MacBooks as soon as 2029, which could be pretty awesome. Now let's switch topics topics a bit and talk about iOS 27, because iOS 27 might actually be one of the bigger updates that we've seen in quite some time, but not necessarily for features and visual changes, because we've heard for a while now that it's going to be a bug fix update, but it might also fix one of Apple's and the iPhone's biggest problem for a long time, and that is battery drain. So here's what Mark Gurman said in a recent report. When it comes to Apple's operating system updates this fall, the company has two main priorities. First, it wants to integrate AI into the software with a revamped chatbot-style Siri. Second, Apple is looking to clean up an operating system that has become a bit of a mess under the hood. The tidying effort, similar to what Apple did with its Snow Leopard OS, will include removing scraps of old code, rewriting features, and subtly upgrading apps to let them perform better. That should make for a snappier, more responsive operating system. Apple is also planning some tweaks to the interface, though nothing as extensive as last year's Liquid Glass introduction. As part of the work on iOS 27, engineers are making improvements that could boost battery life. Apple hopes that underlying code changes will result in efficiency gains that will end up giving users more juice. So I believe that is the first time I've heard rumors of potential battery fixes coming in an iOS update in quite some time. I actually cannot remember the last time I heard that. So that is very promising that internally it seems like Apple is talking about boosting battery life via software by, removing some of the old code and just making it run more efficiently. So I cannot wait to see that, because as you guys know, some of the most useful features on the iPhone and in iOS are small features. They're subtle features, like, when you get the prompt right there to insert the code as your text message, just things like that. Really small, subtle changes are actually the big ones that are actually useful to us, like Liquid Glass, the changes, the design, tweaks and things like that. Those are cool, but those aren't necessarily the features that we use on a daily basis. Those usually come in smaller updates on the surface, like this one, like iOS 27 is set to be. So I'm very excited to see what happens in June with this update. Now let's talk about Apple and AI hardware products, because we're going to start seeing a lot of AI hardware products from every company, but also Apple over the next few years. We got a new report this week from Mark Gurman that outlines 3 of these AI products that are going to be coming pretty soon, as early as this year. So the one this year is going to be the AirPods with the cameras on them, but we're also going to see AI smart glasses and an AI pendant. So as far as the glasses go, Gurman said this: Apple has made significant progress in recent months on its glasses, codenamed N50, and has recently distributed a broader set of prototypes within its hardware engineering division. The company is targeting the start of production as early as December, ahead of a public release in 2027. So yes, it seemed like we might actually get these AI glasses in 2026, but now it seems like we may see an announcement at the end of 2026, if anything. Anyways, the glasses won't include a display. Instead, the interface will rely on speakers, microphones, and cameras, letting users make phone calls, access Siri, take actions based on surroundings, play music, and take photos. Apple aims to differentiate the product in 2 key areas: build quality and camera technology. The glasses will include 2 camera lenses, one for high-resolution imagery and another dedicated to computer vision, a technology similar to what's used in the Vision Pro. The second sensor is designed to give the device environmental context, helping it more accurately interpret surroundings and measure distance between objects. And here's what was said about the AI pendant. The device is reminiscent of the failed Humane AI pen, but it's designed as an iPhone accessory rather than a standalone product. The pendant would essentially serve as an always-on camera for the smartphone that also includes a microphone for Siri input. Some Apple employees call it the eyes and ears of the phone. Apple is working to allow users to wear the AirTag-sized pendant in 2 primary ways: with a clip that can attach to clothing, or via a necklace that can be placed through a hole inside the hardware. And then when it comes to the AirPods, he said this: the AirPods, planned for as early as this year, have been in development for a while, with Bloomberg first reporting in early 2024 that Apple was exploring camera-equipped earbuds. The company has steadily added AI features to the product, including a new live translation mode introduced last year. And speaking of AI glasses and AI products in general, let's talk about Meta, because they are going to be competing with Apple on a smartwatch. They're going to be competing directly with the Apple Watch soon, because we just got a report that says that Meta is set to release its first smartwatch this year, featuring health tracking and built-in Meta AI. The smartwatch would compete directly with Apple Watch and other brands, and it's the result of a revived project that Meta canceled in 2022. The smartwatch could arrive alongside Meta's updated Ray-Ban smart glasses, which could reportedly include facial recognition, and it sounds like they will almost definitely appear before a pair of mixed reality glasses that the company has also been developing. So let me know, are you going to be buying the Meta smartwatch? I know some people are kind of against, they don't really like the Apple Watch for some reason, even though they have an iPhone, but would you actually switch to a Meta smartwatch? Please let me know. Okay, so you guys know how the iPhone Air was the first iPhone to get Apple's new in-house 5G modem, the C1X modem. Well, it looks like this week we just got our first reported failure of that modem. So this is posted over on Reddit with a screenshot of the issue here, and he mentions that he woke up to find the iPhone Air with no signal, and when he ran the diagnostics, it said that he had a modem failure, essentially. So it is quite impressive that it's taken several months to see our first, C1X modem failure, but at the same time, there are a lot less iPhone Airs out there. We've seen a lot of the same issues with Qualcomm, so I've seen the same screenshots, the same issue with the modem dying. I've seen that several times over the years, with Qualcomm-based iPhones. This is definitely not something new just for the C1X modems, but it's just pretty interesting that we haven't seen any reports of that for months, after it's been released, when a lot of these have happened within the first couple of months of ownership that I've seen in the past. So obviously much smaller scale here because not a lot of people have the iPhone Air compared to the other iPhones. So this is probably just a nothing burger, but it is still interesting that that was the first report just this week. Okay, so we have to talk about CarPlay in Tesla, because if you're like me, if you have a Tesla, CarPlay is something that we missed at first, and then eventually we got used to the Tesla UI, but it'd still be nice to have CarPlay in the Tesla. Well, now it seems like that's actually been delayed, because we heard that we might be seeing that as early as this year, but now maybe not, because we just got a new report that said this: during testing, Tesla discovered compatibility hitches between Apple Maps and its in-house mapping software, which are used for self-driving features. Specifically, the turn-by-turn guidance from Tesla's Maps app didn't properly synchronize with Apple Maps during autonomous driving. That could create a confusing experience for users who could theoretically have both applications open side by side. To address this, Tesla asked Apple to make engineering changes to Maps to improve compatibility. Apple agreed and implemented the adjustments in a bug fix update to iOS 26 and the latest version of CarPlay. But here's the catch: adoption of iOS 26 has been slower than with previous releases. That meant, in Tesla's view, too few users had the updated Maps changes by the end of last year. But the tide is turning, because on Friday, Apple released the first usage statistics for iOS 26, saying that the operating system is now running on 74% of all iPhones released in the last 4 years. That compares with 76% for iOS 18. So it seems like the issues have been resolved, but Tesla's not pushing this until, more people actually get on iOS 26, when it seems like it's already being pretty well adopted at this point. So maybe we'll see that in iOS 27 later this year. Who knows at this point, but it is coming. And speaking of cars, we also saw this week that Toyota is rolling out Apple Wallet car keys for the iPhone. So if you have a Toyota, you will now be able to, use these car keys to unlock your car. And it looks like this is currently working on the 2026 RAV4, and a Reddit user posted this: looks like this in my Apple Wallet. I approach the car without keys and phone in my pocket, and then it opens automatically when I put my hand on the door, then starts up inside with the phone still in my pocket. So really cool. If you have a RAV4 or another newer Toyota, like a 2026 or newer, you could be seeing this feature added to your car, which is awesome. Okay, so now let's talk about iOS 26.4 Beta 1, which was released this week for developers and for public beta testers. And as we all know, the 0.4 updates are always pretty significant updates for the iPhone with every release cycle, and this one is no different. So we did not get the new Siri features as expected. Those have been delayed for at least, a month or so until the 0.5 update. So you can see here the Apple Intelligence Siri, nothing new in here. We did have to download the new Apple Intelligence models for quite some time, longer than usual after this update. But let's talk about some additional features and changes. So if you guys watched my initial What's New video, link down below, by the way, if you didn't already watch that I covered more than 30, probably like 40 features and changes in iOS 26.4 Beta 1, but I've discovered even more changes after using it for a few days now. So the first one I want to talk about is inside of music. Go figure, there are a lot of changes in music here. Of course, one of the most obvious is if we go into albums, you can see that the album page now has the full screen animated artwork, and you can see that when you scroll down to the track list, it retains that dominant color. So it looks a lot better now in iOS 26.4, and you have this for playlists as well. Now, something else that's new here is that if we go ahead to right here, so if we go to one of these songs, we're just gonna go haptic press on it and go ahead to add to a playlist. And check this out down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So we have a new option here to add this to multiple playlists at once. So if I wanna add this to multiple playlists at one time, I can do that. And you can see up top, it says add to 3 playlists. I tap on the check mark and boom, it adds it to 3 separate playlists at the same time. Now, also if we go to the home page right here and scroll all the way down to the bottom, right above the Apple Music replay, we have a new section for concerts that shows upcoming concerts near you, along with the date of that concert. So if you go ahead and tap on concerts right here, it will show all of those and it will show exactly where they are based on your location. So you will have to give location access when you first go in here, and you will have to add that, but you will see who all is playing near you soon. So if I go to one of these, we'll just go to this one right here. So if we go to Kodak Black, you can see it shows get tickets, play, shows when it is, more upcoming concerts, all of that. And I really like how Apple did the date right there, like the calendar app icon for all of this, this whole UI, not just in here, but also on this page right there. So that is a cool new feature here. You could also access this by actually going to the artist page itself. So if you go to the artist here, you can see up top, we do have a new thing that shows a concert coming up. And then if you scroll down, you can see right here, all upcoming concerts. It will show them all right there. And if you go to your account page in Apple Music right up here in the top right, you'll notice that this has a new design change as well, just like we saw in the App Store. So this all has a new look to it. So we have these buttons down at the bottom. We have Apple account up top. The header up there looks different. We have our music profile right here. So you can see all of that right there, which is new in iOS 26.4. Oh, and by the way, if you go to the bottom of this page, you can see music settings down there as well. So you can tap on that and it takes you straight to the music page inside of your settings. In the Shortcuts application, we have a new action for setting battery charge limits. If you tap on that, it says that sets the battery charge limit of the device. So you could change it or you can set until tomorrow. So if I go ahead and add that, you can see you could set the charge limit via a shortcut. So you could tie this in with other actions if you would like to. So you could set it. So if I just want to do 90% right there, I could tap on this. You could also have it set to do only until tomorrow. So now if I go ahead and do this, if I run this, you can see it will change my charge limit right there. In the health application, we have a couple of changes. So if you go into your vitals right here, you will notice that your blood oxygen now appears again. So for some reason, this was removed a while back, but now we have our blood oxygen percentage right there as part of our vitals. And also for sleep, if you're somebody who tracks your sleep with your Apple Watch, we have a new metric here as well for our bedtime. So you can see right here, it says you missed your average bedtime last night by an hour and 42 minutes. So it shows my average bedtime right there is 1:52. Last night I didn't go to bed till 3:34. So now that is a new metric that you can check out. Now here's another change in iOS 26.4 that I was not expecting. So if you go into the camera settings and you go down to record sound, we now have the option to disable audio zoom. So if you're not aware, audio zoom's been a feature for quite some time, for a few years, where it says recorded audio is focused on the subject when the camera is zoomed. So if you were recording a video and you zoomed it in on something, it's going to focus all the sound on whatever object you're zooming in on. That was a feature that's been there for quite some time, but now you have the option to turn it off. It was never a toggle before. It's just always enabled by default for years. But now if you're somebody who is not a fan of that, if you wanted to hear what was behind, the camera instead of, what's in front of the camera, you can now turn this audio zoom feature off. Also in iOS 26.4 beta 1, if you go into RCS messaging, we do have end-to-end encryption enabled for RCS messages. Now this is currently in beta, and this will not be in the final release of 26.4. So as you guys know, end-to-end encryption only happens when a message is being sent. So it happens between, when you send the message and when it gets delivered to the other recipient. So the reason it's encrypted is so that nothing can happen in the middle of that process. And that's why it doesn't really matter if Apple's not going to have this in the public release. Your messages are still going to always be encrypted while you're on the betas because the message has already been sent by that point. So some people were confused by that, so I wanted to clear the air on that. However, there is also something I wanted to mention in the 26.4 beta 1 right here. Even with iMessages, not necessarily just with RCS, you will see now at the very top that it shows iMessage encrypted. So we have a new glyph there that shows when your message is being encrypted. And this is actually an old message as well, but it now shows it right there as a new indicator. Now we did also see that CarPlay video was referenced in the code of iOS 26.4, but it did not appear to be actually working. So CarPlay video is where you can actually watch videos on your CarPlay screen while your car is in park. However, even though it was not, visually able to be seen by us, there was a developer who actually showed how this works using Xcode's CarPlay simulator. And you can see what that looks like right here. So it looks like Apple TV will be one of the apps that you could use to play videos on your CarPlay device while you're in park. Also, if you go into the Watch application and go to the Face Gallery, you will notice that this has a new interface, just like we saw with the wallpaper interface on iOS 26.4 on the home screen, or on the lock screen rather. So if you go right here, you can see if you go to all watch faces, we now have kind of a new design here where you have to tap on Get to download these watch faces onto your device. So when you tap on that, it will download them and then give you the option to actually enable them and use them on your watch. So this could save a tiny bit of space, but it's cool to see that we have a new design here. And these are kind of like packs of watch faces, just like we had for the wallpapers. And then if you installed macOS Tahoe 26.4, we did also see the new compact Safari tab bar return in this update. And we also see that with iPadOS 26.4 beta 1 as well. So for somebody who missed that compact tab bar, it has returned. Oh, and also in macOS 26.4, we also have a battery charge limit. So just like you can do on an iPhone where you set a charge limit, you can now do that on macOS 26.4. Now, as far as the performance and the battery life goes on iOS 26.4 beta 1, I have been using this on my main device here, my 17 Pro, and I have to say I have noticed a slight drop in performance and battery life, both after updating. So my device does also get a bit warmer, and again, this is always expected for a beta update. I cannot express it enough times. Do not install a beta on your main device if you are not willing to accept the risks of the bugs, the decreased battery, the decreased performance. So it's nothing dramatic, but since I test these phones every day, I do notice these small differences, and I'm noticing that there is a bit more lag, and also performance and battery life are just dropping in general compared to 26.3, which again is to be expected. Like I had a point in time when I went into the music application and I went to my account page right here, and it just completely froze my device. I actually made a screen recording of this and I wasn't able to do anything. It was just stuck on there for a good 45 seconds before it just went back to the previous screen. So things like that are going to happen on these betas. Now I have to say it's not all bad news, because if I go over here to my app library, I did notice that the lag in app library is finally gone. That was there since 26.0 beta 1. So that appears to be fixed here, which is good news when you're scrolling in here and when you go in and out of these folders and then start scrolling. It used to have a lot of hitching. Now it's been fixed, it seems. And feel free to let me know how your battery life is in iOS 26.4 beta 1, because I can feel my device getting warm right here, and I've noticed a drop in my battery. Although I am screen recording, still it is something I noticed more dramatically here with this update compared to previous ones. Okay, so now let's talk about what to expect next from Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 26.4 beta 2, and I would not expect that to be released until March. So Apple typically waits at least a week before releasing the second beta of 8.4 update. And I would expect that to be the same here with 26.4. So if that's the case, if Apple sticks to that, we should be seeing iOS 26.4 beta 2 on the week of March 2nd. So that's when we can see beta 2. And a lot of people have been asking me, is the final release of iOS 26.4 going to be in April like I originally said? I originally said that the release date could go into April. I never said it was for sure, but I said it is a possibility to go into April, since we did get the 26.4 beta a little bit later than we expected. However, Mark Gurman did just recently say that we are going to see 26.4 in March. And, with this timeline right now, it seems like that's going to be a little bit tricky. So we could see beta 2 on the week of the 2nd, beta 3 on the week of the 9th, beta 4 on the week of the 16th, RC on the week of the 23rd, and then the final release for 26.4 on Monday, March 30th. That seems to be, what we're expecting right now, at least what I'm expecting right now for iOS 26.4. And then after that, we should be seeing iOS 26.5 beta 1 start to roll out. And typically these 0.5 updates are nothing really to write home about, but we have heard that we might be seeing the Gemini-powered Siri revamp as early as 26.5. So we could be seeing some of that when 26.5 rolls out, at least in beta, either at the very end of March right there, maybe the 31st, or that first week of April. But we are not expecting to see the actual final release of 26.5 until either the end of April or potentially early May. It's probably going to be early May at this point. And of course, like always, in the meantime, we could be seeing a 26.3.1, just a small bug fix update, any point from now until the end of March. And that's, again, only going to be for bug fixes and security patches. So that is it for this week's episode of Apple Weekly. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you very soon.